Mistimed that. There we go. What's going on, A2D Nation? The Strike Zone, Matt Downing here tonight. We got a great show tonight. I cannot wait to get started because we got a lot to talk about. And obviously with tonight's opening banner, we had an incredible weekend on incredibly just emotional weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Want to give that shout out real quick. But Bryce Harper and Joel Embiid, they put their talents on display in both very different ways. And I got to say, there's not a bigger divide in who's a superstar in Philly and who's not at this point. And we're going to get into it tonight. I want to hear from you guys tonight, Philly fans, Philly Nation, like about being a superstar in Philadelphia. Why is it so hard, do you think, for superstars to play in Philadelphia? Why have we had so few? And why do we find so few when we do think we have a superstar? Why do most of the time they never come through and win in the end? Like, is that the fans? Is that us? Do we demand too much? Is our passion for winning and wanting to win too much for some of these guys? Or is it these athletes that just can't handle it? We're going to get into all that tonight. And I can't wait to talk about it. So Trea Turner, going on the other bad side, Trea Turner, his struggles, well documented this season to start the season, not the MVP start that we were thinking that he was going to have, especially after the World Baseball Classic. But obviously he can look to a fellow teammate, Nick Castellanos, looking at the experience he had last year. And I think we have a lot to look forward to with Trea Turner still, a lot of good to come. And the Phillies bullpen, speaking of good things, Phillies bullpen really picking it up ever since that Dodger series a week ago, especially with Craig Kimbrel playing really well with Alvarado going down. Are we ready to really say that the Phillies bullpen is a strength at this point? Do you guys think that the Phillies bullpen is now better than what the starters are giving us right now? Are you more confident in the bullpen than the starters? And of course, we're going to finish with my fantasy breakdown tonight, and that all goes down on the Strike Zone now.
Oh my God! Embarrassed! He's flying!
Oh, come in. It's almost time.
Oh, there we go. All right. So welcome to the Strike Zone tonight, guys. I am really excited to get into tonight's show because if hopefully you all had a wonderful Mother's Day on Sunday. I know I sure did. My mom definitely had a great Mother's Day. What was not great, though, was having to put up with me watch both the Phillies and the Sixers on Mother's Day. I'm sure everyone had to go through the same thing. So apologies to all the moms for the language they probably heard on Sunday because it was brutal. It was brutal for Philadelphia fans. I know this is a baseball show, but it really follows into with what really the state of Philadelphia sports has been over the last, past year in terms of, really good teams getting far and, thinking you have a chance to win a championship, but unfortunately just coming up short in the end. With Philadelphia, yes. Pain. No better word to describe it, Lauren. Yeah, that was definitely the way I was feeling this weekend. Like we all were watching the Sixers put up. Do we even want to call it an effort this weekend? What they did, because, and that's what I was just talking to one of our producers right before we went on the show here, Ralph. Shout out to Ralph. But I was watching the game, and we were only down by 3 at halftime. Just completely unimpressed up until that point. But then we get into when the third quarter started, and I got to be honest with you, as soon as they went on that little run, I think they went up to by 12, and then the Niang technical foul on the on the bench. Once all that started going, after they went up by 12, and I think it was Brogdon, I think, who hit the 3, and they went up by 12. It was him or Robbie White. I can't remember who it was. It doesn't even matter. They all shoot the lights out when they play the Sixers anyway. So when they did that little run there, I mean, I literally just walked out. I walked out of the room because I'm like, this game's over. I'm like, this game is so over. These guys have no freaking spine. These guys have there was just no way they were coming back in that game. Because you knew it. You just saw that these guys did not want this game. They just didn't want it. They did not want it at all. I mean, James Harden and Joel Embiid, two guys I have defended for for most of their time, especially Joel Embiid. And I got to give a shout out to my friend's dad, Brian. He's been bashing Embiid for a long time, and we were talking about this last week. Going in. This was last Friday, so it was before Game 7, and we were talking about it. And we're like, do you feel confident that do you feel confident going to this game? And he's busting my chops, but I'm just like, no, of course I don't feel confident, with who we got and the history and just not ever coming through in the clutch, when it matters most in terms of Doc Rivers, newly fired Doc Rivers. Should have happened last year, but we saw that movie before and now we're seeing it again. But hey, who was shocked? Nobody, especially Sixers fans. But yeah, just watching that performance from those two guys specifically. And of course, I'm going to segue in with Bryce here, but I just want to kind of set the stage with what I saw in terms of the disappointment and finish off. We're going to start with the bad and we're going to take us to the positive with Bryce, which he always does for us. So, but with the way that Joel Embiid and James Harden played in that game, all you got to do is look at them. All you got to do is look at these guys until they didn't want this. They tell you could just see in their eyes that they did not have the stones to be able to come through when the team needed it most. And what Joel Embiid said after the game, I mean, that was the most sickening part. Aside from the fact that we got blown out, aside from the fact that they just completely gave up. I mean, and Tobias, you want to go down the list. PJ Tucker is the only guy I really – and Tyrese Maxey to a degree are the only two guys I can really give any sort of praise on that team. Because PJ Tucker, once he was yelling at Embiid in the fourth quarter of that game at home, when he had to yell at him, scream at him to finally get going, and this is at home, and this is when he's winning MVP, it's we were in trouble. We were in so much trouble from that moment. It was it was over then. Because if this guy can't get himself going after playing in front of that crowd and winning MVP and crying and doing the whole thing. I'm just so sick of these guys, these NBA guys specifically when it comes to these with Embiid now specifically. I've been the biggest Embiid supporter for the longest time, but now that after, 5 years in a row now, right? A second round exodus. We've never made it past the second round with Embiid here, right? And we can go down the list of the reasons why and the mess ups and, all the reasons, with Jimmy Butler not re-signing Jimmy Butler and trading Mikal Bridges and getting fleeced on the Jason Tatum move. We can just go down the list of all these moves and who all these guys we didn't take. And the list goes on. Colangelo, you just run down the list. It's just been an absolute clown show for these last couple of years. There's been no consistency from the top. And when you can't have consistency at the top, forget about the players for just 1 second. You can't have that consistency at the tops of these owners. Like I've said before, you're not going to do anything. That has a trickle down effect. And especially that's why you look at for example, the Eagles. You look at the ownership of Jeffrey Lurie and you look up the stability in terms of decision-making with Howie Roseman. And then of course, getting a guy like Nick Sirianni, young guy to, really gel with a young team, what they were trying to do and the vision that they were trying to put on the field. And, of course, Jalen Hurts, too, another guy who I will include in that Bryce Harper category. The only other guy I honestly will consider in that category right now in terms of Philly athletes being true superstars. I think Philadelphia only has two superstars, and that's Bryce Harper and Jalen Hurts right now. I think they're the only two superstars in this city. And you look at the reasons why is because when you look at Joel Embiid, who just completely proved why he is not a superstar. Let's go to what he said after the game in his press conference, which was the thing that shocked me the most out of anything. And yeah, I know. It's so funny, right? And then the MVP, right, exactly, is now is we all can't stand him. I know. But hey, you know what? That's what we do as Philly fans. That's what we do, and we love it. That's exactly what we do. Exactly. So, I gotta love it. I love it because it's so true. But guess what? This is how Philadelphia works. And this is kind of goes into my point. We want results. We don't want the excuses. We don't care. We just don't. When you're getting paid that much money and when you're expected, when you just won MVP and you are expected to carry yourself a certain way after winning an MVP now, after talking all the crap, after saying it didn't matter, and then you start crying when you win. Now, of course, it matters. It meant so much now after saying it never did before, losing to Jokic, who is clearly the best center in the league now. I think there's no question about that. We obviously know that, who the real MVP was definitely the last 2 years. I mean, I got to give it up because, darn it, it's crazy to see that Joel Embiid, what he said after the game, which was this, that it's, with him, it's for him and James, they can't do it all. I'm going to paraphrase it for a second because I can't even read what this guy said. It's just so sickening. But basically, yeah, him and James, they need to have more help. It's a 5-on-5 sport. Like, we can't do it all. It's like, well, what did you guys do exactly? Joel, can you point to me what you actually did do? Because, I mean, I'll go to James Harden for a second. He went a la Ben Simmons. He went the full Ben Simmons package in games 5, 6, and 7. Didn't score in the fourth quarter. Also, it's just like, of course, we get blown out 2 of those games 6 and 7, of course, the Doc Rivers special, up 3-2. But, to have, like, the fact that you are going to sit up there after winning MVP and have the biggest drop-off in point differential from regular season and the playoffs. It was like a 9-point differential. He averaged 33 in the regular season, like barely. I think he averaged like maybe 24 rounding up in the playoffs. It was the biggest decrease ever for an MVP going into between winning the MVP in the regular season and the playoffs. I mean, and that's just like, that was something I just was not expecting. I'm completely surprised that he performed as bad as he did, because this is a guy who was built. I mean, just to trust the process. He's built this up. He's been such a guy that has been so beloved in Philly. It's hard not to root for Embiid. He's such a likable guy. I mean, he has he's funny. He's got the personality, but just these, especially with this past year, like all throughout the year, the things he was saying, he really matured. But now we get to the point where it's like you've gone completely the opposite way and throwing your teammates under the bus at the end of the season in a game where you didn't show up for the biggest game of your career, biggest game of his career. For him and Harden and Doc Rivers, legacies were on the line that game. And that's the effort that you put up. Like, I mean, that just shows me you don't care. I mean, because if you were truly a superstar, I mean, like, your resume, that matters. I mean, that, like, it's all about who's the best in terms, like, they're not going to say it. Most of them won't say it out loud, but you can better believe they think about that stuff. Who's best, who had the better stats. These guys think about that, because when you're at that level, when you're at that kind of drive to be that type of superstar level, I mean, that's such it's almost an unfathomable level, like the level that guys like Bryce Harper are at in terms of how good they are. Guys like Ohtani, guys like, Jalen Hurts, who's had a really, you've seen the work that he's had to put in to get to this point. But then also a guy like Bryce Harper, who since 16 was anointed baseball's chosen one, like, LeBron James was similar, the SI cover at 16. He was on this, he's been expected to be this guy, and he's been this guy ever since. He's succeeded everywhere he's gone and impressed every single where he's been. And with Joel Embiid, of course, the whole opposite story, guy that started so late, came over, just, 100, looked like Kevin Durant, and just was so skinny, just, didn't really even know how to play basketball. So, we get to this point now where he has gone through this entire process, trust the process. I defended it for so long. I mean, it's over now at this point, because even if I think Joel Embiid, like, I don't see them trading him this offseason. I just don't see it, because you just won MVP. It's really kind of hard to justify trading the MVP right after he won it. I mean, that would be so unprecedented, especially, in any league, especially the NBA. I mean, the NBA is the NBA at this point, but in terms of what players decide to do on a yearly basis, where they want to play. But I think so. Okay. Anyway, but hold on 1 second. Yeah. So going off that, so throwing his teammates under the bus and just completely, literally not taking responsibility. Like, that's what we, like, as a superstar, like, that's what you want to see. Like, you're the leader, like, you're the guy, you're the face of the franchise. You got to take control. You got to be the one out there all the time answering the questions. Like all the heat's going to come to you. And that's a heck of a lot. And like, I'm not going to pretend like that's a heck of a lot to deal with. And none of us really know what that's like to deal with that, to have that pressure that these guys are under. And it's got to be unbelievable amount, especially with a whole entire city, especially as passionate as Philadelphia is on your back, at all times, during the season. But it's because we just want you guys to win, and we just want you guys to show, like, we just want you guys to give it your all. Like it's I'm going to get into it right after I talk about Bryce here in a sec, but I'll save that for after. But yeah, I find it so just fascinating. Like a guy like Joel Embiid, who's been here his whole career, to just do a complete opposite turn of a guy though I thought that understood what it meant to be a superstar and what it was going to take to win in Philly, to completely not, and to completely throw his teammates under the bus. It was sickening. I mean, because that's what, when it happens on a stage like that in a game 7, you just can't overcome that. You can't justify that effort. I mean, we're always going to see that. Like, I mean, the Atlanta Hawks won. Yeah, that was Ben Simmons' fault. But at the same time, Joel Embiid's not down in the paint trying to get that ball. Like, like he's not taking control in the final quarter of that game. And he had a bad fourth quarter of that game too. So it's been a pattern for him his entire career. So I think we really need to start seeing, I just want to see these guys like understand like what it takes to play in Philly. And the guy that you have to look to in order to have the example, thank God we have that guy, and that's Bryce Harper. What happened? Oh, there we go. Oh, technical difficulty for a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, so yeah, Phillies game, of course, yeah, right. On a season high win streak, and then of course going into that game, not the nicest Sunday out there it seemed in Colorado, but losing, they're losing 4-0 in the 6th. And the guy and the Rockies reliever, I don't even know his name because who cares? He's on the Rockies. But I think that, looking at that guy coming off the mound, right? I mean, I don't know I still don't know what prompted him to talk crap over to the Phillies. I don't know what prompted it. I don't know if there was, and I think it might have been, actually, I think we might have an idea of, maybe it was what Bryce said the night before when he hit that home run in the 9th, that 2-run homer in the 9th. And, he was in the dugout, having a little, like, yeah, of course I did that. You guys think, yeah, it just cracks me up that, people still want to pitch to Bryce Harper over the plate in the 9th inning. It just cracks me up, but hey, I love it every time because, and he loves it too. So keep doing it, guys. But yeah, so that guy comes off the mound, starts clapping, starts, jawing, starts, feeling himself because he came in the 6th inning as a reliever for the Rockies. And, hey, why not? Let's go. And, gets out of the inning, starts talking crap. And, and I think really, all right, it's just like, whatever. I think for the most part, like, especially me, like, I'm not a guy who's going to like really want to run out and like, I have no, especially when it's something like that, I kind of just laugh at it. Like, it's just like, dude, like, okay, yeah, nice, buddy. I would just laugh at a guy that does that. But Bryce Harper definitely took exception to it because he came out of that dugout with the hair flowing, headband going, just absolutely ready to throw down Hunter Strickland style. Which, I think everybody, which I was laughing, and I just like, this is why you just gotta love Bryce Harper. All right, just in this nutshell, he goes at, like, this is a guy that has a bionic arm right now and is basically playing with, still, I mean, if he's 100% healthy after that short of time off Tommy John, I mean, just this guy is not even human. I mean, and he proves it every time because goes out there, he's ready to throw down. I mean, this guy, I mean, and he pushed, I forget who he pushed, but I mean, Bryce was absolutely as heated as I've seen him in a game that really was not the most meaningful game. And yes, we're going to get into some of the Phillies struggles, especially with Trea Turner, going into it after this. But like, when you look at Bryce Harper taking charge there, right there, and just going out in a game that's like, all right, you're losing 4-0. It's, last game of the series against our last place team, and you're ready to throw down. I mean, and like that There we go. Okay. I guess I'm just having a little Wi-Fi issue. Okay. No. Okay. I'm good. Never mind. Yeah. Sorry. I don't know what happened. It looked like my thing was buffering real quick, but anyway, just like James Harden trying to decide to shoot or not. There we go. I saved that one. So I think, all right. So going into Bryce, like going out there, like this guy is 100% all the time. And that's what you see with Bryce. Like just, he has just the persona. He wears this fanatic cleats. I mean, the guy knows what the people want. This guy knows what the people want. And it's one thing to understand what Philly fans want. And this is what we want, right? We just want you guys to go out there, to show up, and we know you're getting paid the money. We know you're getting paid, but we want to we just want to see that you care about it as much as we do. Like we want to just, as long as you go out there and give it 100% and you accept like, hey, we win, we lose, like we didn't, and like you take responsibility. Just say like that's what we want to hear. Like we just want you to be honest. Like that's exactly right. Man of the people. Yes, he is, Lauren. He is definitely a man of the people. Man of Philadelphia. Philly. Well, I don't know if I can say my nickname for him. I don't know if I get in trouble for that, but it's a good one. But how it is nowadays. So, but yes, praise Bryce. So, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Dad. Yeah, he does deliver for the fans. Like that's what he's like. The first day he showed up, first game, I'll never forget it. Like I went to that game, his first game, his home opener, right after he signed. I went to that opening day. I mean, and the place was just sold out, just absolutely the loudest I've heard it in 8 years. It was up to that point. It was 2019. So 2011 was the last time the Phillies were good. So yeah, it had been that long since I'd actually been to a Phillies game, like actually that excited. And just like the way that guy came out there and the way he looked, and just like you just knew a guy, like, and you just saw like on his face, it's just like, man, I'm gonna love playing here. Like this guy just gets it. Like, and I always thought that Bryce was so misunderstood, especially when he was on Washington. Like this guy just goes 100. Like this guy wants to win. Like he's a competitor. Like he expects himself to be the best every time he goes out on the field. He like that's what he wants. And that one thing that's expected of you as a superstar, but you also got to want that, right? Like you also got to want to go out there and take the game. Like Joel Embiid saying the fact that like, oh, me and James, we need help from the other five. It's a 5-on-5 team. Like, can you imagine if Bryce Harper went out and said like, well, baseball's, we got, 20 other guys, like, 20 plus other guys, like, I can't do it. Like, me and JT can't do it all ourselves. Or me and Nick can't do it all ourselves. Or me and, when Trea eventually starts hitting, can't do it all ourselves. Like, and he said something like that. Can you imagine, like, that's the equivalent of what Bryce would say? Like in the World Series, it's like, you can imagine if he's like, well, when Rob took Wheeler out, for example, and then Alvarado comes in and gives up the home run to Jordan in Game 6. It's like, can you imagine? It's like, yeah, well, I can't do everything. I brought us to this point, but like, nobody else stepped up, these last couple, like, everyone's got to step up, like figure out a way to like, step up these last couple games. And, imagine him saying something like that. Imagine that's the equivalent of what Joel Embiid just said. That's what I really feel. And like, you would never hear any crap like that from Bryce Harper, especially especially right now, where he's at now in his career as the face of the Philadelphia Phillies. And the reason why, and with me saying that, let me know if you guys like with the question tonight, let me know what you guys think. Like, is he the best free agent signing in Philadelphia sports history? Like, and the reason I say that is because the impact that this guy has made since he has come to the Phillies, like this guy, like the Phillies obviously had a decade of absolute mediocrity, right? After the core of 08, team, after those guys all got too old and, left, too late. And we just had no plan going forward for the next couple of years and didn't want to really draft any talent or develop any talent or whatsoever. With the previous regime in Clentak, it was really like the Phillies really needed somebody to come in there and like, all right, set the example every single day. Like, this is what's expected here. This is what the expectation is. And it's a big expectation. It's one that not a lot of guys can handle. You can go play in a place and like, I don't want to start throwing cities under the bus here, but some places where you can throw, where you can go, and, maybe overperform a lot, and really not ever win anything, maybe certain quarterbacks in Dallas, I don't know. But, when you think of stuff like that and you think of, James Harden, a guy who's been paid as much as he's been paid, and everybody, oh, he took less money this year. I mean, spare me this crap that this guy was looking out for the team instead of his own self-interest. Because he knew exactly well that when this didn't work this year with Doc Rivers, that he was going to go somewhere else and parlay, hopefully, the success of playing with a Joel Embiid, and now he's out of the MVP. So, hey, I helped get Joel MVP. I can go make anything I want now. I can go get one more max contract before I'm done, because someone will be dumb enough to pay for me, just because I put up little stats in the regular season, which is I've done my entire career, but never in the postseason. James Harden's fakest. Honestly, I'll say this about James Harden real quick. Top 75 list he's on, he needs to be taken off immediately, because he's the most overrated player on the top 75 list. No question, James Harden. The most talented guy on that team who's won absolutely nothing, has never come close to winning anything. That one time, and that was Chris Paul getting hurt, when he almost tore his hamstring out of his leg. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, because with Bryce Harper, when he came to the Phillies, when he finally got here in 2019, and that happened, it was like, all right, like, this is obviously Bryce Harper, former MVP, like, absolute superstar persona. Like, yeah, like he's flashy, he's very animated out there. It's like, all right, like, but that could go wrong in Philly, right? Like that was always a concern, was that maybe that style, then he's going to start clashing with the fans, once he starts doing bad. And, like a la Jonathan Papelbon, you start, into the fans, and it's like, we can't have that. This is not the way that we conduct ourselves as, especially, with Philly athletes, like, they'll laugh at you. Like, it'll be funny, but that's not how you win over the fans. That's not how you win over Philly fans at all. Like, when you win over Philly fans, just go out there and show that you care as much as we do. That's really what we want to see. Like, just show us that you care, like, and show us that, like, and show us that you actually hear that we know that we care. Like, we want to hear you say that, like you get it. You hear the fans, like, yes, we're not playing well. You're damn right. We're not playing well. And no one's more upset about it than I am, but we're going to get together and we're going to figure this out. And they sure figured it out last postseason, because I did not think that they had that in them last postseason. This was a team that, like, really struggled during the regular season, but behold, get into the playoffs. And what does Bryce Harper do? Had a bad month, coming off the hand injury, just a really kind of just bad, just unfortunate year for Bryce last year, being out, really during when the Phillies had that really nice stretch. I wasn't really sure. I was hoping they can get through that Cardinal series, and that was great. That would be great. But now the fact that what we saw him do, and literally put our entire team on his back. I mean, what he did, his stats, like, he batted like 350, like, up into those last couple games in the World Series. Like, the rest of the team was batting just over 200. I mean, like, the difference of what that guy was doing. And I mean, he literally carried us to the World Series last year. Like, we get past the Cardinals, but, like, you don't win the Braves series. You don't win that San Diego series without Bryce Harper. There's just no way. And you don't get up on the Astros unless it's that Bryce Harper influence. Like, this guy just has understood what it takes to be a superstar from such a young age. This is just a prime example why it's so rare. It is so rare to find these guys. Like, I'm not saying, like, it's easy. Like, Joel Embiid should just flip the switch and now he gets it and, like, goes out there and actually, shows that he cares. Like, no, that it doesn't work that way. Unfortunately, we wish it did. And we've had that problem so many times with superstars in the history of Philadelphia sports that we thought were going to take us to the promised land and never did. Never even got there. And this is, unfortunately, with Joel Embiid being another example. Like, Bryce got us there last year. And as hard as it is to get back, I still have faith. As long as Bryce Harper's there, and, like, with what we got going on that team, like, the Phillies proved to me that they have what it takes to win. Like, you have to get right at the hot time. And in baseball, you have to get right at the hot time. And that, like, we see the Rays, like, the start they went on this, like, to start the regular season, that's contagious. Like, especially in baseball, like when you win a game, it's like, yeah, that 9 innings, like that, well, now it's getting a little sped up with the pitch clock, obviously, but that's not easy. That's not easy to carry out through 162 games. I mean, baseball, especially, like there's times where you got to really put on the gas, and Bryce, and you look at 2021 when Bryce won the MVP, the August and September that he had were honestly two of the best months I've ever seen a baseball player have. And everyone argued like, oh, he should win MVP. He only has 84 RBIs and, only 160, 155 hits, blah, blah, blah. Like this guy literally was the only reason we were in postseason contention in that year. Literally the only reason. Single-handedly was winning games. And a baseball player, like as a hitter, like there's been very few guys like as a hitter where you can actually carry a team by yourself. You got to carry 8 other guys. Like, and not to say the Phillies players weren't doing great, but obviously well documented some of the struggles that each guy went through in the postseason during, their when they had their struggles last year. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, the allergies are just killing me today, guys. That's why I keep rubbing my nose like this, because my allergies today have been terrible. So I apologize. I'm not doing the that thing. I'm not good fellas in it right now, so don't worry about it. But my allergies are killing me, so I apologize for that. But but getting back to Bryce, like what this guy, going with what he did last postseason, like this is a guy that completely gets it, and it's just so unfortunate to see like Joel Embiid, who we thought was a superstar. I mean, he just won MVP for God's sake, right? Like, Bryce, obviously, Bryce has won MVP. He's the only other guy that we can Philly right now that we compare to win an MVP right now, right? Like, that's the comparison. Joel Embiid, like that's the pedestal that you're going to always be judged on now while you're here. Like, while these two guys are here, like, and Jalen Hurts too. I just really wanted to highlight, obviously, Bryce and Joel because it just happened on the same day on Sunday. But Jalen also in the same category as Bryce. I got to give Jalen some love too, because everything these guys do, the way they approach the game, the way they go out and perform, and the way they're like, they want the pressure. Like these are the guys that want, like Bryce wants that moment, that eighth against the Padres game 5, like they weren't going back to San Diego. Like there's no way he's letting that happen. Like that's what the superstar do. Like, and that's why it's so rare, because to have that kind of pressure in that moment to actually go do it. Like it's one thing, everybody can say it. Everybody talks crap. Everybody, everybody has your opinion, right? Like you can say whatever you want, but like, it's one thing to actually go, it's one thing to say it. And then to go do it on the level that Bryce has done it from the age that he's done it. I mean, it is so few and far between what we see with superstars. And they play superstars and like, forget about the sport. It doesn't matter. Basketball, baseball. Like that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the actual mental makeup of like the player, of knowing like what it's going to take and what I have to do to be a superstar, and not just a superstar, but a superstar in Philly is different than other cities. It just is, because yes, the pressure from the fans is more so than I would argue than any other city. Maybe New York, with the Yankees. I mean, the pressure that they have every single year, it's win or bust. I mean, every year, even though it's been a little while for them, and hey, they got a superstar in Judge, so they have their superstar, luckily. But obviously, it shows like if you have a superstar, right? And there's another example right there. Judge, a guy that said all the right things, did all the right things, and went out and bet on himself last year and got the mega deal, right? And had an MVP and won MVP, right? Like that's, Joel Embiid, like he set the stage for that this year. And when it matters most, you run from it as far as you possibly can. And Bryce, the exact opposite. Give me that moment. Like, we're not going back to San Diego. You think we're getting on a plane back to San Diego? Pfft, you can dream the hell on. We are ending this right now, and I'm going to do it right here. They're going to leave this righty in against me. Pfft, yeah, here we go. Just throw me the pitch. I dare you. And that's the mentality. Like in the moment, like to be able to do that, man, and just do the thing, and like not even completely own that moment like that, to just have no like just, because he's just in his head is going absolutely insane. But oh, interesting. Yo, what's up, Mike? How you doing, bud? Okay, so we have a response to the poll here. All right, so let's see. Malcolm Jenkins, yeah, I mean, he was darn good. Just wasn't here for long enough. Let's see. Bryce wins World Series, then he jolts to the top. Hey, I agree with that. Now Malcolm Jenkins. The thing I would disagree on with you with that, Mike, though. Bryce, I mean, obviously, okay, we're talking about superstars, right? So when I think of superstar more in football, like the guy that's going to determine more so that is going to help you win a Super Bowl is the quarterback position, right? We all know that, right? We get that. Carson Wentz, Nick Foles that year, 2017. Yeah, they're not going to the Super Bowl. They're not winning the Super Bowl without those two guys with the years they put up, right? Like, they're the main reasons why they won those Super Bowls. Yeah. Obviously, that defense, Malcolm Jenkins was the leader of that defense. Absolutely no doubt. And played that way and fit in perfectly in Philly. Was a Philly player through and through. I love watching Malcolm Jenkins play on the Eagles. Just another guy that totally got it. I mean, definitely agree with that. But I like with what Bryce is doing right now, like with Bryce, baseball is so much harder to carry a team like that. Like, and Bryce, like we're talking about a guy like single-handedly carrying a team. Like he single-handedly carried them through the playoffs, right? Last year. So that's why I'm thinking like Bryce, just his impact is just so much more than what a Malcolm Jenkins would be. Not saying that Malcolm Jenkins didn't have a great impact. He certainly did. But I just think that, hey man, like with Bryce, like you're the face of the franchise, and like that's a huge thing to live up to. And the fact that you're doing it consistently, that just impresses me more. And I think since we've signed him, the impact that he's had on the Phillies, I mean, right? I mean, like Malcolm Jenkins, like he helped turn that defense around, but like that defense was stacked, right? Like there was other guys, like there were so many other guys on that defense that made plays, right? Especially during the playoffs and during that Super Bowl when they needed to most. So, yeah, like that exactly. Like, I'm like, obviously, I'm keeping with the superstar debate here, with Joel Embiid and talking about, Joel Embiid and Bryce and Jalen here tonight, Mike. So that's why I'm saying it like that. But yeah, in terms of a free agent signing, like the impact that Bryce has made on the Phillies since he's gotten here, I mean, you can't even. Where would we be if Bryce Harper wasn't on the Phillies, right? Like. Yeah, just think about that. And then, right, it's terrifying. It's more terrifying than Joel Embiid not being on the Sixers. So let me put it that way, right? So that's the way but yeah, that's great. Malcolm Jenkins, though, that's a great one, though, because that was really what started turning that defense around with the Eagles after the Chip Kelly, fiasco there. So no, thank you. Thanks, Mike. That was awesome, bud. I appreciate that. All right, yeah. So Bryce, I mean, yeah, like I said, like Bryce, the way he's got to be able to carry this team, like that's what's impressed me the most about this guy. And I just think that with Joel Embiid going forward, I just don't think. Thanks for commenting, Mike. That was a great question, but that was great. Great perspective there. Yeah, Malcolm Jenkins, that's a good one. Yeah, I love that one, bud. Thank you. So, but yeah, I just think that. With what Bryce has done and what he's going to continue to do, I mean, look what he's done now. He's come back from Tommy John, one of the quickest ever. I mean, just looking at what he did this Rocky series, man, this is what we're going to expect. This is one thing we expected, but this is what we're going to get from Bryce. This is just who Bryce Harper is, man. This guy just wants to win and wants to just be the best more than everybody else out on the field. And it's like, thank credit to John Middleton for recognizing like this guy out of that free agent class, like this was the guy that they had to have, because you could like just anytime you hear Bryce talking, anytime you hear him speak, anytime he's done an interview, it's just like, how can you not be impressed with what this guy says? And Jalen Hurts too. Every interview he does, it's just like, my God, this guy said everything. Every time he says the right thing, he says it every time. It's just like, so that just tells me they get it. They understand what it takes to be not just a superstar, but a superstar in Philly. And that is the toughest one to be. But that is what is required. If you want to be a legend, if you want to be beloved, if you want to be a legend in a city, and as an athlete, there's just no other place to be it than Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, New York fans, I'm sure you'll argue. LA fans, I'm sure you'll argue. But yeah, Philly's the best place to be. If you want to, like, nobody will support you more. Nobody will ride or die with you more than Philadelphia faithful will. So, yeah, I just can't wait to hopefully we can turn it around, because speaking of somebody that needs to turn around, Trea Turner going into this season, Yeah, that's awesome, dude. You're not even a Phillies fan, but yeah, Bryce, right? I mean, like after that postseason, right? Like that was just like everybody got to see, like, all right, Bryce Harper really is that guy. Like, you don't always get to watch him. Like, you don't always get to watch, see these guys, especially if you're not like a fan of the teams, especially with baseball. It's like hard to watch that many games and see what guys doing what over the course of a 162 game season. So it's tough to follow unless you're doing it, like I am and have, reading all these, keeping up with all this. It's a lot to keep up, especially with baseball. So, the way that he's, it's just a guy like that. How can you not love to watch a guy? That's the guy you want to watch on the big stage, right? Like that's why we want to see, we want to see Trout, we want to see Ohtani in the playoffs because these guys, like, this is the type of level of superstar of greatness. Like we need to see these guys on the biggest stage. That's what everybody wants. That Trout, Ohtani, World Baseball Classic final at bat. That was the stuff everybody dreamed. That was the dream come true matchup that MLB, everybody that was a fan of watching that could have wanted, that could have hoped for. And we got it. And it lived up to the hype. So like those are the kind of guys you want to see in those moments. And Bryce has been that guy since 16 years old. So, and he has just continued to improve in Philly every single year. And it's been great. But speaking of a guy that needs to improve in Philly right now, Trea Turner, like going back to it. So yeah, with Trea going into this season, man, like if you watch the World Baseball Classic, like I do, because I think it's, I'm not a big soccer guy, so we're in America, so it's soccer. I apologize to any of the soccer or football fans out there, but I think it's definitely. Where was I going with that? I'm so sorry. Yeah, sorry to the soccer fans, but I just think that all right. So going back to Trea Turner, I completely forgot where I was going with that joke. It was definitely a setup, but definitely forget it now. But going into that, man. With Trea Turner, the way that he started off this year, I think that, now I got it. I think the World Baseball Classic is better than the World Cup. That's just my personal opinion because I love baseball more than soccer. So that's just me. But so with Trea Turner starting on this year, that World Baseball Classic, literally carried Team America into the final there. It's a great movie if no one's ever seen it. But so I thought he was going to be, we all thought he was going to be, just ready to go. That grand slam, I still remember that at bat. I lost my mind when he hit that at bat. So I'm like, my God, this is the guy we just got. Like everybody was like, this is the guy we got now. Like, let's go. Oh my God. And Bryce is going to be coming back. And when they get together, oh my God, these two, second and third in the lineup, they're going to be rocking and rolling. And it just hasn't been that way to start the season. And I was watching, shout out to Big Tom Maroon, and Mitch Williams. I was watching what them talk about Trea the other day. And what I really liked what Mitch Williams said, and that was, when they just talk about Trea Turner, what his struggles are, and you can kind of see it. And the one thing that really stuck out with me was what he said was, it looks like he's up there guessing. Like he's got a hit before the ball's even thrown. Like he's guessing, like, all right, I got to swing here. All right, I'm not swinging here before the ball's even thrown. And like he's already making decisions before he even sees what's happening. And that's when your confidence is down the tubes. So like, and I completely agree. Cause like, and I've watched Trea, like I've been a Trea Turner fan for a long time. Like this guy, like, and that's why I was hyping him up so much to like my friends, like who haven't watched him as much. Like this guy is one of the best pure hitters in all of baseball. He has been for the last 4 years. So, this is a guy that hits for over 300 every year. Has almost average gets around 200 hits. He's had like him and Freddie Freeman have had the most hits in the last 4 years. This is a guy that who continually goes the other way too. A guy that can hit to every part of the field. A guy that likes when he is on, he's hitting to every part of the field. And just right now, like he's not hitting to right at all. And that was another thing he was saying. Trea's not going to right field at all right now. And another thing I was reading too today, Jason Stark was on 97.5 today, and he was talking like the biggest thing with Trea Turner that's like so concerning with him right now. He said it's the most messed up. I'll read it real quick. His swing is as messed up as I've ever seen it. It's a guy that never had a launch angle higher than 11 degrees. It's at 16 this year now. So I don't know if that's the Phillies doing that, if it's him doing that after the World Baseball Classic. That was what they were trying to that's what we're trying to figure out. That's what he's saying. but not sure. But that's very big difference. And the biggest thing I think, especially when I watched Trea, and this is when I watched Castellanos last year too, when he struggled with the slider, and he still struggles with it, but last year was 1-2 count, automatic outside slider, strikeout every single time. Every single time. It was like Ryan Howard again, all over again. And the really concerning thing, which Trea Turner, like, as a good hitter, you hit fastballs, right? Like, that's what you do. Any great hitter, you do your best damage on a fastball, right? Like that's the pitch you want. That's the best pitch you can square up on, and that's the best pitch you can give a ride, right? The thing that's really concerning with Trea Turner this year is he is hitting 100 points lower this year than he was last year against fastballs. 100 points. That's like Kyle Schwarber's batting average, 100. So that's not good, obviously. But at least he's not in the leadoff spot, Trea Turner. So I won't be as mad. But yeah, when you're hitting 100 points lower from the on the fastball, when he was hitting 323 last year, he's hitting 222 this year. He's only hitting 260 right now. And that's the thing that when I watch Trea Turner right now, that's the thing that's really like jumped out at me, and it's like concerned me too. It's like he's just swinging at crap pitches. I mean, he's swinging at the junk. He's swinging at the low slide, the breaking crap away, because I can't even tell you how many times I've seen an at-bat with him where I've seen strike, first pitch, looks, second pitch, outside corner, swings, misses, next pitch, low and away again, swings, misses, done. He's done it way far too many times this year, and that's what Mitch was saying, like the outside of the plate, he's getting killed on the outside of the plate. If you throw it on the outside of the plate right now, similar to what teams did with Nick Castellanos when they started realizing his struggles last year, throw that slider low and away, and he's an out right now because he just cannot see or handle that pitch right now. And when you're not being able to see or handle that, he's not doing the thing that what he utilizes best, and that's going the opposite way. That's when Trea Turner's hitting right. Gosh, allergies. Gosh, when he's hitting to right field, like that's when he's at his best. When he's like somebody and look at Bryce, right? When he starts going to the right field, like when he hit that first double when he first came back off Tommy John, it's like when he hits the double down to right field, it's like, oh, he's back. Yep. It's like, yep. Oh, he's fine. He'll be fine. It's like, yeah, he's already doing that to put it down the line. His first homer, of course, goes very close to the spot that was in Game 5. Like, all right, like you're going the opposite way already. Like, yeah, you're back, and it shows. Because he's batting like what is it, 350 right now or something like that? Maybe lower after yesterday, or Sunday, excuse me. But yeah, I think with what he's doing this year, and not being able to hit the fastball, that's been my biggest concern with him. And obviously, when you can't hit the fastball, you're trying to overcompensate, and you're swinging at pitches you shouldn't be. So that's something that's really kind of been a very big shock, because this is a guy who, I promise you, like, this is a guy that's going to figure it out. Like, and all he has to do is look to Nick, right? Like, Nick went through this last year, and he never recovered last year. He had a terrible postseason. What did he not homer? Like, from August or from late August on, or September, he didn't even hit a home run the rest of the season. Career 13 home runs for him after hitting 34 the year before. The expectations that were put on him last year, and just we never saw, if you watched him in Cincinnati the year before, right, when he was All-Star team, Silver Slugger, guy over 300, 34 homers, 100 RBIs, like that guy was hitting to all parts of the field. And a guy that was really you saw the emotion that would come out of him a lot. Like, he was the guy in Cincinnati. He was really what drove that offense that year. And before they just let everybody go on that team, because they didn't want to pay anybody. Shout out to Cincinnati's owner. What a great owner. Another great owner. But yeah, I just think that when you get to that point, where it's like, okay, bud, you got to change your approach, right? At some point, all right, you just got to stop overthinking. Dude, you're Trea Turner. You've been an all-star multiple times. You're one of the best shortstops in the league. You got literally, I think Nick Castellanos kind of faced that last year. I think he overthought a lot that I think that everybody has these expectations of me, and I'm just trying to do too much. I'm trying to figure it out. I know it. Believe me, nobody's frustrated like I am, but it's not happening. And it's it's going to happen, but at some point, it's going to happen at some point. I just don't know when. And I'm doing everything I can, but and that's the toughest thing as a hitter when you're going through that mental battle. Because Trea Turner, it's a mental battle. He's going through a mental thing right now, and that's what it seemed like Nick. And of course, we heard like might have been a wrist problem last year, but like Trea Turner, he doesn't look hurt or anything like right now. He just looked like it's all in his head. So, but now with Bryce back, like this is like I just want to make sure everybody, let's not panic on Trea Turner yet. This guy has proven throughout his career he's too good a hitter. That this is going to continue throughout the season. Like we saw what Schwarber and JT obviously last year took them a little. Obviously Schwarber never gets going until June anyway. But when JT got going, like he was bad the first 2 months. Like this, we were talking about like JT about this. JT was basically this last year, but he was even worse. But then he turned it around and was basically our best player for August and basically the rest of the season. So yeah, I just want to. I think everyone will be fine. Trea's got the right people around him. He's going to figure it out. So, and speaking of doing the right things right now, the Phillies bullpen. I'm already like 10 minutes left. So let me get into this real quick. The Phillies bullpen though, ever since that Dodgers series where we got what's the nice term to call it, steamrolled, completely in that series where everybody just decided, where all the pitchers decided to give up home runs like it was candy. On Halloween, the Phillies really have some guys, especially the Phillies bullpen. Craig Kimbrel, I want to shout out two guys specifically. Craig Kimbrel, easy for me to say, and Gregory Soto, two guys that were big pickups for the Phillies in the offseason. Obviously, with Craig Kimbrel being, the active saves leader in all of baseball right now, and future Hall of Fame closer, top 10 all time. So. And then Soto, another guy who, was the closer and all-star for the Tigers last year, but was on a really bad team and was kind of pushed into that role because, when you throw near 100 and you're on a bad team like that, you need somebody to go in there, right? And but he played pretty well last year. But with a kind of rough start to the season here, these two guys have really over the last week, especially with Kimbrel coming in, getting the win and getting a save, the two wins against the Rockies there. This is a guy that has done it throughout his entire career, as Phillies fans know, when he did it with the Braves all those years. But I think that really, I just want to see, I really, really, really want to see, these guys continue to play the way they're doing. And thank God, José Alvarado. Yeah, see, we're getting to the end of the show. I can't talk anymore. José Alvarado. Yo, what's going on, Brian? How you doing, bud? Yeah, not worried about Trea. I agree, man. He's definitely going to come. He's definitely going to be around. He's going to be fine. And that's a guy I ain't worried about at all. Yeah, and it's all up in his head. I truly think that. Like, you can see this guy, he's just overthinking at the plate. And I think he'll be fine once he just settles down and, he's got the right guy. Like I said, he's got the right people around him. Kevin Long, Bryce. I mean, he's got Nick. He's got all these guys that have been through it, and he's in the perfect spot. So, not worried about him. It's unfortunate, obviously, and but the Phillies. This is what the Phillies do every year to start the year. I mean, they're inconsistent. So facts, right? Yes, I know you were talking about that before. Yes, but see, there we go. So. Everything will resolve itself out. Yes. During Hoagie Fest. Yes. Which hopefully, will be coming up soon. So, we're getting close to that, right, Cole? Yeah. So, absolutely. Some great comments in here tonight, guys. Thank you. Yeah, this is great. So, with Craig Kimbrel and Gregory, so like Craig Kimbrel, obviously, once José Alvarado comes back, he's the closer, right? But like, do you guys like trusting Craig Kimbrel in the setup role? I mean, with Connor Brogdon pitching as well, I haven't even talked about Connor Brogdon yet. He's been absolutely fantastic. Him and Matt Strahm obviously have been, I think, our two best pitchers with Alvarado. They were, this season, I would say the three best pitchers the Phillies have had are Matt Strahm, José Alvarado, and Connor Brogdon at this point. I think it's the numbers prove that. So, I love seeing that Soto and Kimbrel, like this is what, especially with Kimbrel, like, he's had problems, but the fastball's been at 96, 97 the past couple times. Like, you can stay healthy. Like, what you're good at, bro. Like, what to do. Like, this isn't a guy like we should have to worry about. Obviously, when his control gets wild, it gets wild. Like a lot of relievers, but with his pedigree, like this is a guy I trust. And so I think that going forward, and especially until Sir Anthony figures out his issues, because he has not been right to start this year at all. And a guy who I still really, really like, Sir Anthony. I love Sir Anthony. I think he will be fine as well, but he's not had a great start either. So I really think that Craig Kimbrel, he's right now, I think he's the setup guy when Alvarado comes back, until he proves otherwise. So I just think that, and hopefully that continues, because we need them to, if they even get a chance to get a save, because Phillies starters like to give up so many runs, we don't even have to worry about saves, half the time this year. So yeah, that would be nice if, at least Bailey Falter, sent out. So I'm guessing Matt Strahm, obviously with Ranger coming back, but I love Matt Strahm. I know he wasn't signed as a starter, but that guy is a Philly player. Like I said last week, he's willing to do anything. That's the guy I want coming in those spot starts. I want Matt Strahm, not in Bailey Falter and Connor Brogdon starting one inning in the first inning, using one of your best relievers in the first inning. This is the modern MLB crap that I can't stand. But that Rob, I like Rob, but he's made a couple of decisions now, this one in particular recently, Rob hasn't really helped out the Phillies record, I think, so far this year right now, like he did last year. So, it's not like we're getting a big change. Guys, this is what the team is now. Got to figure it out. So, yeah, let's go into my fantasy, finish the show, because I'm already almost freaking done. So amazing. And shout out to, speaking of my buddy Cole right here, helped me with some of the fantasy, actually really helped me with the fantasy picks for this week, because he's a big fantasy baseball guy. So shout out to my buddy there. And I have some picks for everybody for this week here. So let me just pull up all the stats here. Hold on, I have it all. There we go. All right, let me finish off here, right? All right, so a big matchup this week. Keeping talking about those loser Rockies, right? Why not keep it going with the red uniform coming into town? Cincinnati Reds going into Colorado, always a great place. Can never go wrong with Coors Field in terms of going boom with the home runs. So, and a couple guys, Spencer Steer batting third, and Tyler Stevenson, two really. I mean, the Reds have they haven't been playing bad. I mean, they got some young talent on that team. I'd say give them a year or two. Hopefully, get a couple. If they actually want to spend money and get a new owner, hopefully, or obviously mostly get a new owner, that would be great for them, because they have some interesting young talent. And they're starting to play. They're starting to play well. Look at the top of the Reds lineup this week with Steer, Stevenson, and Matt McClain, one of their top prospects coming up. They've been bringing up a lot of guys. He's batting second, so very affordable, $15. And then we got some big names. I think there's the biggest steal of the week. I said before when I said he was going to get hot, Nolan Arenado. The Cardinals, after the terrible start they had to the year, Nolan Arenado, 4 home runs in 4 straight games. He's only $13 on Yahoo this week. Guy that I absolutely love, Arenado. If he's there, he's my pick. Absolutely. Get that, strike the iron while it's hot. Hopefully you guys been doing that. If you do it, go with the guys that are hot right now, ride it until it's over. Right. Unfortunately, if it doesn't work out, but hey, man, this guy's hot right now. When a guy's hot, take advantage of it. Right. And, another guy who, is really hot right now with the Mariners, Ty France, and Jared Kelenic. These are two guys absolutely on fire right now. Kelenic, former top prospect, looking like the rookie of the year favorite right now, the way he's playing this year. So, and then with another guy who you might want to think about as well, or to start as well, Julio Rodriguez on the team, only $16 right now, but he's been struggling to start the year, but he's starting to figure it out right now. And I'm looking for a home run from him. I had him in fantasy last year, rookie of the year. So I'm a big Julio fan. And when he's that cheap, the superstars, they're going to hit at some point. Right. And if the guys around them are performing, that's only a matter of time before they start performing as well. So I think that's a good sign with the young guys right around them. I say go with Julio tonight as well. So thank you for that, Cole. Hey, that's right, buddy. Thank you, bud. Give my buddy a shout out. So, well, guys, I'm already done. That was crazy how quick that went again. But, that's awesome. Mickey Moniak. Don't forget about Mickey Moniak. Yeah, Mickey Moniak just came back and hit a home run. So, And he homered again today. How about that? That's awesome. Nice. Good, Cole. All right. Well, hopefully that means you're probably going against him again. So sure. But yeah, bat and lead off. Awesome. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. That wraps up my time on the strike zone tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed, and can't wait to do it again next week. So have a great week, guys. And let's go Phillies now, because that's all we got for a while. Take care, guys. Have a great week.